Hey guys, welcome back to the Noble Broker. I'm your host, Jonathan Lickstein. Remember, on the Noble Broker, we welcome professionals and producers in the real estate industry to talk about who they are, what drives them, what got them into the industry, and just see where the conversation goes. There are no pre-done questions, and it's just an open, free-flow conversation. Today, I welcome both a professional and a producer, Mr. Jacob Edri of the Move to South Florida real estate team. Jacob, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you being here, my friend. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers
What are
to
you
that.
drinking?
This is a gin and coke.
Gin and Coke. And I'm trying a new concoction today. I'm normally a tequila Red Bull, tequila soda. Today we're getting hot in here. It's a little tequila Celsius. So we'll see how that one goes. Anyhow, let's move into our conversation, Jacob. You have a really interesting story. You're an interesting guy, and I always like having conversations with you and hanging out, whether it be a heat game, a sporting event, a networking event, or honestly just passing each other in the office. You always put a smile on my face. So number one, thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
But number two, let's dive into what drives that person. What makes Mr. Jacob here tick? First, tell us a little bit about your business, and then a little bit about what makes you tick.
A little bit about my business. I operate a team at Location Real Estate where we target people looking to relocate to South Florida from all over the U.S., but primarily the markets, the Northeast and the West Coast. And surprisingly, there's still a lot of Canadians looking to do business here. So, been doing it just a little bit over a decade now, and I cover a few different aspects of real estate. I do property management, and I handle a few commercial side deals. What drives me and motivates me every day is, honestly, man, waking up and just appreciating where we are and the position that we're in, and the ability to make our own schedule and make our own destiny, really. It's been the best driver of this whole thing, man. It's just, we're so blessed to be here. If you look at the map right now on today's weather, the entire country of the United States is frozen.
Frozen.
We are the only ones that are living right now. They're all hibernating.
And that's where your slogan came from for your team.
Can't shovel sunshine.
You can't shovel sunshine. You'll never have to get the sunshine out of the way to get out of your driveway.
Let me tell you something. I heard it on the news one day. I was in the shower. Every morning, my wife calls me crazy, but I listen to the news on my phone. I have the TV streaming, and I can listen to the local news and everything. And, they were talking about how it's cold everywhere and it was snowing. And the guy's like, well, you can't shovel sunshine. And I'm like, wow, you know what? He's right. You can't shovel sunshine. I'm going to put that on my shirt because that just made my day. I was like, wow, I'm in a hot place. And, sometimes we wake up and we hate the heat here. But in other places, man, they'd give everything to be here. So I do wake up loving being in South Florida specifically.
So you just mentioned something that's been the topic of conversation with another one of our guests. You put that slogan onto a T-shirt, and you wear that T-shirt out and about, right? That leads to conversations, I'm sure.
All the time. I get people making weird faces at me in the middle of the store, and I'm like, hi. And it starts a conversation for sure.
Yeah.
Having a slogan on your shirt, having any kind of branding, it gets people to look at you. And then, depending on the message or the colors, I had one lady look at me at Publix and smiled and just said, I love the colors on your shirt. It just made my day. You don't know how little of an effect or how big of an effect you have on the people around you, but just putting your message out there. And I get stopped by random people saying, hey, can I take a picture with the back of your shirt?
Well, because it's bright on there, right? It's right in your face, and it's really fun to say. It's fun to see, and it's very relative to the community here in South Florida. I mean, you think about that. We have that over everybody where we moved from. Most people down here are from somewhere else. You're from somewhere else. Where are you from?
Boca Raton, Florida.
You're an OG Boca?
Boca boy.
Born and raised Boca boy?
Only one. There's a handful of us, but yeah, I'm so fresh-blooded that I was born here, man. Florida native.
So walking around, going to the grocery store, going to the bank, I've seen you wear it in all types of venues. So you just have a very clean, plain shirt, right? You're wearing it right now, actually.
Yes, I am.
So very clean, dark colored shirt, excuse me. You've got your website on the front, and on the back it literally just says, you can't shovel sunshine,
baby.
right? And it's it's eye-grabbing. The conversation we had with the other guest was going name badges, was going T-shirts. This girl sells real estate. Right?
Is it the same girl that wears her name badge upside down?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible. I don't know how you would read the one upside down, but either way, what you're trying to do is grab a consumer's eye,
Absolutely.
grab the attention of somebody in public to create a conversation, right? I say this all the time. Real estate transactions come from relationships. Relationships are built through conversations. All you're looking for is an excuse to create a conversation. And it can happen for the most random item.
I feel like in real estate, it's really paid off for me planting seeds and coming back. And like real estate's a long-term thing. And for the people that have just jumped in the last couple of years, which a lot of new agents have come in the last 3 years.
Huge growth, yeah.
Is to be in it for the long run. If you think that it's an easy business that you're going to come and make money in 90 days or 180 days and you're going to cash out with 300 grand because you're going to sell a $10 million house, you might be one in a million that makes that hit, but most are not going to do that. And planting the seeds from 8 years ago and having them come back now is the biggest benefit of being in this business long term. Having those relationships, like you said, and having a conversation, grabbing someone's contact info, and just initiating that back and forth with them, and being their source for whatever they need real estate wise has been really good. And I've been really blessed to be here. It's not my first rodeo, and this market is really crazy. But I've actually had buyers that I sold a house to when I was 19 years old come back to me when I was 29 years old and say, hey, I'm ready to sell my house now. My daughter's graduated. When I moved them in, the daughter was in I think just starting middle school.
Wow.
My daughter already graduated college. We're ready to move out of the house. We bought a small place in Iowa. We're ready to move out of Florida, and we're just ready to go. And we remembered you. And I've been following you on Facebook. And, they messaged me 5 years ago to check in, and they were thinking about selling then. They didn't pull the trigger, but they called me back to come over, check out the house. And we had the house sold in a month, and that's a relationship.
10 years down the road.
10 years down the road, man.
So that is something that doesn't happen very often, right? You look at NAR statistics, when a buyer closes on a property, over 3/4 of them say that they would work with the same agent again. But in reality, looking at the follow-up or the follow-through on the next transaction, less than 20% actually do. That's a big swing. So in a situation like that, you've had a 10-year gap in between. What is some guidance or some advice that you could give? How do you maintain those relationships so far down the road?
Putting your effort and energy 100% in every transaction, and waiving all of your own personal drama, everything that happens at home, and making the thing strictly business, and making that person's interest your own interest, and putting the client above yourself, giving them the passion like you're buying your own house for yourself, is what makes people recognize that, respect that, and come back to you. Even when I have a hard name for someone to remember. I don't even know how the guy remembered that I'm in real estate, but I made such an impact on his life. I got their family into their dream house. They went from a 1-bedroom condo that was literally had a convertible room, right? Their living room had these plexi
old plastic accordion dividers,
plastic dividers to make the daughter's room. And I sold their condo for them too at the time. I helped them do a short sale 8 years ago because they owed more than what it was worth at the time. And that was a big deal. I'd never done a short sale. I needed help. I came to my title company at the time, and they were able to help us to negotiate a deal. And they were really appreciative of me helping them. The husband was a VA veteran, so I gave them an extra level of attention, because finding a VA, a home that would accept a VA offer,
challenging.
Back then it was challenging. Today it's almost impossible, but back then it was very hard. And I got a seller that was willing to work with them. They put zero down. They bought the house with almost nothing out of pocket, and they were able to buy their house in Iowa with almost nothing out of pocket, because they were able to take the profits of a huge amount of money and move it right up at the right time, and took advantage of this market.
So you would say that is you're dedicating service that leaves an impact, and they still remember you somehow.
Yeah, well, follow-up is also good, sending them an email once in a while, calling them, texting them, however you do your thing, send a Christmas card or whatever, yeah.
So there's a big human element that comes to this, right?
Absolutely.
It takes effort on your part. I've seen a lot of agents and teams utilizing follow-up programs recently. instead of doing it manually. Because you get those calendars, you get those reminders, you can only do so much. You're one person. And how do you really scale your business to do more? Because all you're doing is adding more people that you have to follow up with, which is a great problem to have. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but how do you make your life easier? I saw this program the other day. I was at a conference in Orlando, and this company, for example, there's 3 different options, different tiers, right? I want to hear your feedback on this because I thought it was pretty neat. I'm kind of shopping you here for a minute. Okay, getting your feedback. Because I know how I would feel about this as an agent and a broker and doing this, but I'd love to hear your feedback. Anyways, so what they do is they have 3 different tiers, right? And they send automated follow-ups that are handwritten and include minor gifts. For example, one package delivers pizza to the house the night of closing. As people are moving in, typical sometimes, right? They move in that day, they have a moving truck waiting. Who wants to deal with dinner? You just provide it for them. And it includes your branding, a letter, things like that, delivered to the home. I thought that was kind of neat. But part of the package is 3 months later, they get another note. And then 3 months after that, they get another one, handwritten, and that one includes a $25 Home Depot gift card, right? For about 18 months, they do follow-ups every 3 months, touching them with unique things like that. I thought that was a huge value. It was only a couple $100 per customer, granted, but you could do that at closing from commission, throw that out there, and they're touching you when you're touching your customer, without any effort on your part, and it seems all very personalized. Do you think that has value?
Absolutely.
Is that something that is better than the automated follow-ups, like the texts and the emails and the phone calls? And is it worth it? You're getting some value out of it, but how much is it really worth, right?
I'm a big relationship guy, so if I could put a couple $100 into a product that would do the follow-up and send out heartfelt messages and boxes and stuff, I love that. I'm all for that.
I'm not affiliated. I'm not selling them whatsoever.
I'm ready to sign up.
But
What's your referral code?
But I read that and I looked at their website. This is great. This is fantastic. I've heard some transaction coordinators are actually doing that as well. They're including that as part of their VIP fee or whatever. You pay an extra $100 and they send out cards and follow-ups and whatever. But I felt that this one was kind of unique, and maybe could fill that gap between the 20% that do use the same realtor and the 75% that say they would, right?
Well, I don't mean to be a plug or anything, but
I'll get you the info after.
The people that handled the closing for these sellers were the people that they actually had bought their house with, and it was the closing team. Back then they were called Florida Title and Escrow, and it was a good they appreciated how effortless they also made the closing for them, and they remembered that they had concierge level service when they were buying their house. And that's really what drew them back was the level of service. Yeah.
It's partnerships, man. Partnerships are important. Working with the right title partner, the right lender, it's important to the experience. Yeah. And it's really important who you pick. If something goes incorrectly, who's it fall back on?
You.
100%. Absolutely does. So let's rewind a little bit. We know who you are, right? Let's talk about where you came from. So if I am not mistaken, you were a businessman before real estate. You were an entrepreneur before your time in real estate. So tell me the story. Where'd you come from? What business were you in? And what got you into real estate?
I've been hustling since middle school, selling everything from iPhones to candies to iPods to chocolate bars, whatever I could get my hands on to sell it. I've been selling since I was a kid.
Were you the guy with the backpack in school?
Absolutely. I had the full vending machine in my backpack. All the candy that you couldn't get from the vending machine, like the Sour Patch Kids and the gummy strings and all of the good stuff, I had it.
That's just screaming to me. You know the movie The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler?
Yes.
And he's in jail, right?
Yes.
Who is that? It's Terry Crews, I think, who goes around and he's selling the cheeseburger. He's a commissary guy, right?
Yep.
So I got the cheeseburger you need.
Whatever they needed.
That was you.
I had the best candy, and my business was giving it to the kids that didn't have cash that day. So I would then loan them the money. Loan them the money, and I would take a small percentage if they didn't pay it back the next day. And ended up doing great with candy. It was a great thing to learn a business from. And then from
So you were a lender.
Yeah, basically
Okay.
became a hard money lender, I guess you could call it.
We'll call it that.
You know, 25 cents a day. You don't pay up by the end of the week. You got $1 and you owe me, and $1.25 if you don't pay up the next day, and just compounding interest will get you.
I hate to ask how you collected.
Honestly, man, we didn't have any problems. We were just cool kids. I would figure it out with the people if they couldn't pay out. A lot of money you lost. It's part of business. You have to factor it into the cost of goods sold. So
You see that kind of setup. You see that kind of setup in our business today. Like what you just mentioned, hard money lenders, right? They're offering a service. They're giving funds out to the people who need it, and usually in unusual circumstances, right? They're getting it and they're charging the interest coming back, but it's kind of a fast track to get those funds. On the real estate side, we have that as well. Realtors have that, right? Commission advances, same kind of deal. And they're all over the place. I can't imagine.
since I've started in real estate, I feel like those commission advances, and you've been in this, you know, you've seen it. I feel like they've gone down, like the actual fees and the charges that they have.
More competition
Yeah.
brings pricing
When
down
I
for sure.
started, I think they were charging like crazy amount, like 20 or 30%. Now, dude, I just got an email. They're like, "Congratulations, we see you're under contract. Do you want $2,500 now? It'll only be $2,750 at closing." They're just trying to get something from you, and I actually appreciate that. And thank God, I've never had to take an advance. I try to budget and work accordingly, but those commission advance companies, I think they've gotten very aggressive with the offerings,
have.
and I could see the benefit of using it for sure. And
Anytime there's evolution, right? There's more competition in the marketplace. Things are always changing. And when it comes to these kind of companies, the more that are around, it's kind of just a race to the bottom. Really, this one gets more business because they're charging less than that one, and now a new one comes along and undercuts everybody. And that just goes to show that you can never be the cheapest one out there, right? And that's the same thing in real estate.
Yeah.
On our side, when we go do listing appointments, when we go search and work with people,
you have to know your value.
you have to know your value. It's not a race to the bottom. It's
Yeah.
just a slippery slope.
For some, it is. Honestly, when I first started, what kept me in the business was being on the bottom, and I would be willing to work for anything to get a commission. I'll go and rent the cheapest place that you could find, as long as I could do it, 10 times a month, 20 times a month. I would do $1,000 rentals just because I could do 20 of them in a month. When I first, got into things, I ended up meeting some investors, and I built relationships with guys that had properties. And one guy had 100 units, and he said, "Don't worry, I guarantee every deal that will come from me will be yours. Every rental, 100 deals a year,
Referral source right there.
100 rentals a year guaranteed to you. All you have to do is take a quarter of a month."
Oh, so you undercut.
You undercut. So what are you running around for peanuts? So at some point you get enough peanuts and you say, "Hey, I'm already the squirrel. I don't need all those peanuts anymore. I'm going to move up to the next level. And I'm not renting your $1,000 units. I'm only going to rent $5,000 units." And you just keep building and you build and you keep working your way up. But at the end of the day, that evolution and working your way up is how you literally start at the bottom, right?
That's building a business.
So
That's build when you're starting. You've built a business in commerce and sales, right? We'll call it that. And then you've built a business through real estate as well. So when you were starting off, you had to be smart with your money. You had to set your advertising, your budgeting. How did you determine what you spent to market yourself when you were starting in real estate, and how has that changed? Knowing what you knew from your past life, right?
So that story that I told you about those people that came back for me to sell their house, they were an online lead from a big website. We'll call them the big three websites.
Okay.
That I was paying a lot of money to in the beginning. Honestly, I said I would put 60% of my commission to getting a real estate referral from these companies. So if it was $10,000, I'd budget, $6,000 to get a deal. Like, I was just crazy because I was young and I wanted to make money.
Reinvesting hard.
Reinvesting right back into
It paid dividends though.
It did, but at the end of the day, you're trying to keep the train moving. And once you've gotten so many deals done and you realize how to get business, you can take a step back from those things. And now, thank God, I have a lot of referral partners. A lot of them are referral agents with our brokerage location. For example, Agent Pronto, Op City, Redfin, Zillow, KV Core, all of the partners, Prime Street, like I've closed deals from every single one of those. Realtor, all of them.
It goes to show that you need to be open.
I mean, to close a deal from an internet lead is very hard, but the follow up and to actually make it happen, that's it's a numbers game. It's what it comes down to.
It is, and you need to get them from all different avenues. I've seen many agents make the mistake by having all of their advertising budget in one single source.
I'll tell you a crazy story. You ready for
Let's
this one?
hear it. Love to hear
I know you love to hear crazy stories.
I love stories.
I get a lead from an online. It was from an R.com website. Big three. And it's an email and a phone number, and it's a house in Fort Lauderdale for $650,000. And it says, I would like to see this house. I'm not in town. Please call me. And I call the number, and it's a disconnected number. And I'm going to give out this one free tip to everyone listening. And if you guys are listening, I hope that this is valuable to someone. The lead came with a phone number and an email address. And the phone number wasn't working. It was ringing up green in my iPhone. I'm like, shit, something's going on. Shoot. Something's going on. Shoot, sorry. I plug in the email address and it lights up blue in my phone. That means they got an iMessage registered to their email address. Yep. I sent her an email, an iMessage. Said, hey, I got your inquiry about the house for sale. When can I set up for you to go and see it? 2 seconds later, I get a reply back. Hey, you're the first agent that tried to call me. I got a lot of voicemails on my U.S. line. I'm trying to get into them, but yeah, we'd love. My friend's in town. I'm a U.S. diplomat. I work overseas as a foreign service officer at the U.S. Embassy, and I'm not able to see the house, but I would like to send my friend to see it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is not real. The lady sends me an email from her .gov, USStatehouse.gov email, and I said, all right, this is a real deal, lady. I'm in the business. And I took her friend around and I showed her 3 houses in this area in downtown Fort Lauderdale, close to the port. And I told her my honest feedback about all 3 of them. And then I didn't hear from her. And it was like the scariest 24 hours. And then I had to remember in my head that this lady's overseas. She's a U.S. service officer. She's got a million things on her plate. And she got back to me and she said, hey, I want you to put an offer on that house. And ultimately, I sold her the house, but she came like it was a scam. You would never be able to get through to that person.
You would just write it off automatically, saying this is not a real person, but you just took that extra step.
Follow up and trying every way possible to get through to that person is so important.
I used to, when I get these online leads and they wouldn't answer the phone, email wasn't there, I went a little further too. I used to search for them on Facebook and send them a message through Facebook. Hey, if there's a way to get a hold of you, I'm going to figure out how to do it. You can't run. And it's that extra little step that made you get the contact over whatever 6, 7 other people that were trying to reach out to her that day.
Right.
And they tried the phone number, wrote it off, it's bogus, right? As soon as you hear that number disconnected and you took that extra step. I love that, man. I love that. I hope you continue to have that drive as you continue past these 10 years, as you continue on and grow. That's great guidance for people to look to. So we're talking about marketing. We're talking about lead gen. We're talking about nurturing. Let's talk about that relocation. You talked about that at the very, very beginning, that your team, you focus on people relocating. So what's the name of your website?
Move to SFL for South Florida. Move to SFL.com.
So we saw a massive trend of consumers moving from the Northeast, New York primarily, New Jersey, Massachusetts. We get some from California, even Texas. We're getting
Nevada. Yeah.
Chicago. Seen a lot of Chicago's, but the big number is New York. It's up. So people moving from those states coming down. That's been your primary focus. How do you reach those people? How do you define that audience to get in front of the people where your content will appeal?
We're literally putting Google AdWord campaigns out there for move to SFL or move to South Florida. So getting just click ads and these people coming through to the website is really how we're targeting them. I do want to get more into videos and content, but a big thing has been postcards and mailers and trying to get people to...
And you're sending them up in the Northeast?
Yeah, sending them to people that are either, specifically now we're targeting snowbirds that have been here for 40 plus years. So that's the demographic that I'm targeting now.
Okay.
Is the people that are no longer coming down, and I call them ghost houses.
They
Right?
just sit there vacant.
I talked to a lady today. She called me out of the blue. Hey, how you doing? You called me 4 years ago about selling my house, and it wasn't 4 years ago, but I called her quite a while ago, and she saved my number. And she said, I've owned the place for 40 years now, and I don't think I'm gonna be coming back. The grandkids don't want it. The kids don't want it. And it's hard for me to let go. But I remember you. We had a nice conversation, and I'm ready to part ways. So when I come down this season, I'd like to meet with you.
There you go.
That's an in right there.
That's more
So
than an
I
in.
can tell you that also giving people the opportunity to tell their story is so huge. My biggest blessing and honestly making it in real estate has been with the 55 and plus.
The 55 plus
55
communities.
plus
Okay.
communities. Yeah,
That's your niche?
that's my niche, man. I had a lady, a husband and wife, that almost lost everything they had. I was able to help them sell their condo and get a huge chunk of cash out that they were so happy. They put me in their will to be the realtor that sells their house when they die. It's the craziest thing that I've ever had in my entire career. And it made me cry, honestly. I was at a point where I thought I was going to get out of the business. And I was showing a guy the neighborhood, and it was a community called Windmore. I'm not scared to say it. A little $200,000 condo, and these people, they their kids are not here. Their kids are over on the West Coast, but they're looking out for them. And the wife, she she was a little hard at the beginning. She told me, "Look, we're interviewing 15 agents. I don't think we're gonna take you. But let's go through the questions and see how you answer them, and then we'll decide if we're going to work with you." And I said, no problem.
That's one way to start a conversation. Hey, we're not going to work with you, but you can stay anyway.
We can see what you're going to say. She gave me that feeling like I was just wasting my time. But you know what? I gave it my best shot. And I said, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And later in the evening, I got a call from them and said, hey, we sent your information to our son, and very appreciated the conversation that we had, and we're going to talk it over, and we'll give you a call next week if we decide to work with you. And long story short, it was during COVID. They loved that I took the extra protocols. I got geared up for them. I made sure everyone signed a waiver that they put hand sanitizer and gloves on and mask before they even walked in these people's house. And I made sure that they were safe because the wife was immunocompromised, and she was a older lady, and she couldn't have any risk. I would make sure that they were out for all the showings, and I really looked out for them like they were my own family. And long story short, the condo that they ended up buying, they wrote in their will with an attorney that Jacob Edri will be the realtor to sell their house when they die. That's what's written in there.
Oh, it'll get hopefully not anytime soon,
Yes.
but eventually.
Love you, Barry and Bonnie.
So you just brought up an interesting time in the life of really everybody on planet Earth, but we had a little bit of a special experience with it during COVID, right? That 2019, 2020 time that kind of carried through the COVID-19 that just won't leave. And it gave you an opportunity. You mentioned the dedication. You mentioned the PPE that you would carry around in your car, that you were going over the top to make people feel comfortable. It's a very challenging time that we were living through. So that dedication set you apart as well. There were many agents who were not going anywhere.
I was the first agent at Location offering hand sanitizer to everyone here in our Facebook group. I remember trying to get hand sanitizer was harder than getting like anything in the world because it was just so valuable. We didn't have any.
Well, so COVID changed our business, right? You went through a time where being the dedicated person was having the PPE equipment, being conscientious about cleanliness, preparing your customers, getting disclosures, borderline violating HIPAA with buyers to find out exactly what was the situation so you knew how to handle this for your sellers and vice versa, right? It was an interesting time and everybody handled it differently.
Yeah.
But it definitely changed your business. It changed my business. It changed our industry. It changed our world and the way that we interact. So how has the COVID-19 experience we're going to call it. How has that changed your business? How has that changed how you operate every day? How has that changed what you're thankful for, what you're looking at every day? Like, it's definitely changed some things. I'm looking for like one or two items from you.
It's given me a whole new appreciation for living, number one. And number two, it's given me an appreciation for being in the right place at the right time.
Appreciation for being in the right place at the right time. Okay.
Yeah, let me tell you why.
Yeah, I need an explanation on that. I'm not picking up what you're putting down here, sir.
I am in Florida, and the market here has only skyrocketed during COVID.
True.
And I've been a real estate agent for a little while now, so I had the swing of things. And I was in the market before most joined in, so I kind of was able to make some things happen and really do some numbers to change reality, basically, and to work really hard to the point where I no longer I have a very limited budget with what I pay those websites, and I work mainly on referrals, and that basically happened because of COVID. I was able to shift to a primarily referral-based business from other agents in the country that are like, hey, we need a good agent in South Florida that can help us to relocate, to my database of 3,000 location agents that they need someone to handle their business while they're away, or they were scared of COVID, or they didn't want to show houses because of COVID, or they were sick from COVID and they needed to continue business and operations. And I was ready to gear up and go out and handle that business for them. And it goes back to that hustle mentality of, if every day you can make a new connection, my goal every day is to try to make 3 new connections. And if you can do that, you're going to have business downline.
I couldn't agree with you more. I completely agree. So the business changed. We're in a market that's shifting now. It's gone from being the sellers could demand anything and everything and a 7-night, all expenses paid trip to Tahiti, and the buyers were giving it to them. It didn't really matter. We've shifted away from that now. I'm seeing trends of properties that sit on the market right now. And they're struggling to find buyers, and sellers have now had to conform to what a buyer needs. And we see that shift, that power struggle go back and forth between buyers and sellers. But there's this really open and unknown time ahead of us with these interest rates that are high. Buying has slowed down. Where do you think we're going? Where is this market going in 2023?
I think that we are going into the best time to be a buyer that we've seen in a while now. We're probably going to go start shifting towards the 2019 pricing. I'm not an economist, but I could just see like how it would make sense for the housing prices to come back down a little bit from the hyperinflation. Because look, we were in a really weird place in Florida where the building materials were high, the cost of the land has skyrocketed, the time to build new construction has skyrocketed, and on top of that, in Southeast Florida, the really only new construction that we're building is very high-end homes or townhouses. So it was a little weird in the market, and that's why the demand was so high, because there was nothing to buy. There's not enough houses here.
No inventory.
There's nowhere, because no one's wanting to leave their house because it's COVID.
Right.
And on top of that, people are coming here because it's COVID. So the people weren't moving out, and then this was the other thing, like the older people were not moving out of their houses because it was COVID. They were scared to leave.
And there was limited places for them to go. The inventory struggle even compounds further. Sellers won't sell because there's no place for them to go buy, and that seller won't go anywhere because there's nowhere for them to go buy. If nobody's willing to sell their home, there's just not enough supply for the demand that was there. And that supply-demand balance is what put us into that competitive market where people were paying $100,000 over asking price, no appraisal, no questions asked, and where would you like me to send your 3-course meal? It was buyers would give up their firstborn.
Yeah.
So we're shifting, and we could see this beautiful market, right? But shifting markets, they can push you in one of two ways. It can either defeat you and you can pull back, which we've seen from a good portion of the industry. You're seeing on the mortgage side, the title side, and the real estate side. It causes consolidation. It causes filtering out of those who weren't really making it in as a business. And that's forced you as a business owner, an entrepreneur yourself, having gone through these cycles, to change what you do. So it's important for everyone as a business owner, and every realtor out there is a business owner. I don't care what brand is on your business card, you own a business and you need to treat it like such. So anytime there's a shift in the economy, anytime there's a shift in the market, prices go up, prices go down, I don't really care. It's more about what you are doing that will keep you profitable all the way through. So what have you done to change your business offerings, to change your focus when markets on the residential side are shifting so drastically like this?
So funny that you say that. I can tell you that my dream when I first got into real estate was to sell hotel buildings and $100 million projects, and to be that commercial broker, or trying to make these big deals happen. And I could see, and we got really close to making one deal happen. I was under contract with a buyer for a $96 million hotel in New York City. And, with commercial, there's a huge due diligence period, which is not
Huge.
like residential.
Huge. You can see those deals last a year or two.
Yeah, this one had a 90 days due diligence, and
bad.
you come day 80, you pop champagne, you're like, we're almost there, we almost got $100 million deal. You start doing the math, your commission's 3%, $3 million.
That's where you messed up right there.
Done.
Can't do it.
Can't do
Can't
it.
do it. Superstition. You can't calculate your commission ahead of time.
Well,
Something happens.
You know what happens then. Day 89 comes. Sellers wouldn't come down $5 million, the buyers wouldn't come up $5 million, and basically over the commission, which is what it came down to, the deal fell apart. So I went back into the residential side, but in this shifting market, I've actually honed in on my commercial deals, and it comes down to a matter of putting in the effort and really dedication to the clients. And I had a guy come to me and say, hey, just one after the other, I need a space for this business, or I need a 7,000 square foot warehouse. And of course, when you're a real estate agent, you get thrown these random things and you're like, okay, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it doesn't. And me doing this for 10 years, I've had so many people come to me, and maybe they're real. I never was able to make a deal happen. But in this shifting market, especially in the last couple, I would say in the last 2 quarters, every single phone call that comes in, I take seriously. More seriously than before, because we had that time during COVID where people were asking for something that wasn't reality. People were asking for houses and the prices were just taking off, and there's no way that realistically I could give them what they were asking for.
They're still going to happen. They happened when I got in the business. I want a beachfront house for $500,000. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, it went under contract 25 years ago.
I still tell that person, hey, let me take your information down. I'll put you on my notepad. Let me see what I could come up with for you. And if there's anything possible in the future, I'll give you a buzz. And I leave it at that. And that's just because I don't like to, like you said, I'm not setting their expectation by promising them something. But at the end of the day, people want to feel like they're, like they know what they're talking about, right? Like they have knowledge of the situation. So you can't tell them.
They want to feel heard.
Yeah, but you also can't tell them, hey, look, the house is, what you're looking for doesn't exist, pal. I'm sorry to break it to you, but go look somewhere else. They're saying you're not going to find it here. You tell them, okay, they appreciate it. We'll find it for you eventually, maybe someday.
So I want to go back to your changes of business offerings. You're digressing me off this topic here. So I want to go into why you changed. What made you decide I need to offer different services? I need to be open for needs that are coming to me. Did somebody just come to you and say, hey, I need a commercial space? And you said, why not? Or did you put more focus? Did you put more education? How could someone...
A past client that I sold a house to had a child that goes to a religious Catholic school that buys private school uniforms.
Okay.
She came to me and said, hey, my guy that makes the uniforms is outgrowing their commercial space and they don't have a realtor. I gave him your phone number. If he calls, you just know that it came from me because they're a real company. The guy calls, hey, I'm real busy, man. Find me a 7,000 square foot space somewhere in, Fort Lauderdale area because that's where we're looking to be around. I'm like, all right, cool. I hear this.
Boom.
I hear this.
Time.
I hear it all the time, man. Once in a while, but you know what? Let's give this guy a serious look. And I looked up the company that had like 14 locations. I'm like, all right, this guy's serious. Let's get to work. And I went to their location that they were outgrowing because I like to do my research. And I saw that they really needed the space, that they were a real company, that there was a lot of demand for what they were selling to these kids. and they ended up leasing a space for me, and that was the start of one relationship that will be fruitful for a lifetime, because at the end of the day, I will dedicate my time, and these guys need warehouse in Orlando, Tampa, South Florida, anywhere in Florida, I'm their guy. And that's because I will make it my mission, whether it's by plane, by train, by car. I mean, if I got to hit up a location agent that has an airplane, I will. I have no problem to get wherever I need to go to make a deal in Florida.
What I like is that you were open. You didn't turn away from something because it was different, because it was challenging. You took that as an opportunity of a way for you to kind of diversify your business and go down a different pathway, a different source of revenue, right? And now you're open, you have some experience on the commercial side, you feel a little more comfortable. You definitely know what you're doing on the residential side, but then you added in a third piece, right? This one I love. It's near and dear to my heart. What I love about doing this in the changing market that we have right now is you set yourself up with a base, with a baseline, a consistent source of income that, regardless of transactions, will be there for you if you are there for it. So tell me about this third revenue source.
This is the most incredible thing that's going to be happening for 2023. I am partnering with Location Property Management, and they are going to be handling all of the back-end accounting, bookkeeping, all of the transaction management when it comes to property management, and I get to handle the people side of it, which is honestly the only reason why I love property management, because I can put the people side and actually have a conversation. And I feel like in real estate, that's what you have to be as a people person. And property management, I'm able to come up with solutions that property owners have come to me after they've had too many issues, or they can't figure it out, or the property manager dropped the ball, or this. So 2023, I'm going full force with Location Property Management. I'm going to be bringing on a bunch of units, in addition to offering my services to other agents that don't want to do property management, that don't want to deal with it. They can get a small referral. I'll handle all of the operations of the property, make sure the owner gets paid, make sure the rent's collected, it's deposited to their account accordingly, and that the property is maintained and managed to the standards that people want to live in. So property management is in my blood. My dad, growing up, was a property maintenance guy. He would drive around on a golf cart in complexes, and we lived in an apartment in the complex where my dad worked. And he would change the ceiling fans and light bulbs and AC filters and repair the units, and he was the one that did the maintenance. So I kind of grew up looking at management from the maintenance side of things. So looking at it today, property management's in my blood, and I've been doing it for a little while, not on the scale that I'm looking to take it to at Location Property Management, but I have found a new specialty in that our company is bringing on this management side of things. I'm so happy for it to happen now when the market is shifting, because it's going to provide some awesome opportunities.
I would agree with you. So determination and dedication can be contagious with your clients and bring you business that you're generating today, but for years to come. And that's noble. Thanks for coming, Jacob. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.